The rain was falling hard that Tuesday afternoon. John pulled his delivery truck into the parking lot of Hartwell Music Academy. He looked at the big building through his wet windshield. The academy was beautiful. It had tall white columns and large windows. Rich people sent their children here to learn music. Famous musicians came here to teach. John was 29 years old. He had dark hair and tired eyes. His blue delivery uniform was old and faded. He had been delivering packages to this academy for 3 years. 3 years of walking through those fancy halls. 3 years of being invisible. He grabbed the package from the back of his truck. It was heavy. Some kind of music equipment for the piano department. John ran through the rain toward the main entrance. His shoes were already wet. Water dripped from his hair. The security guard at the door barely looked at him. "Delivery?" the guard asked without interest. "Yes, sir. For the piano wing. Professor Vasquez." The guard waved him through. John walked into the grand hallway. The floors were made of white marble. Beautiful paintings hung on the walls. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Students walked past him in expensive clothes. They carried instrument cases that cost more than his monthly rent. Nobody looked at John. Nobody said hello. To them, he was just the delivery man. He was part of the building, like the walls or the floors. He did not matter. John was used to this feeling. He had felt invisible for many years now. But today, something was different. Today, something inside him felt heavy. Maybe it was the rain. Maybe it was the memory that kept coming back to him. The memory of a different life. A life when he was not invisible. He shook his head and kept walking. The past was the past. There was no point in thinking about it. John reached the piano wing. The hallway here was even more beautiful. Large photographs of famous pianists hung on the walls. He could hear music coming from somewhere. Beautiful piano music. It made him stop walking. The sound was coming from the main concert hall. The door was slightly open. John knew he should just deliver the package and leave. But the music was pulling him. It was like a magnet. He could not stop himself. He walked slowly to the door and looked inside. The concert hall was huge. It had red velvet seats for 500 people. A massive crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling. On the stage, there was a grand piano. It was black and shining under the bright lights. John knew that piano. It was a Steinway Model D, one of the best pianos in the world. It cost over $200,000. A woman was sitting at the piano. She was playing a piece by Chopin. Her fingers moved across the keys like water flowing over rocks. She was beautiful. She had long black hair and sharp green eyes. She wore an elegant red dress. This was Professor Elena Vasquez. John had seen her many times before, but always from far away. Around her sat about 20 students. They were watching her play with amazement. These were the best piano students in the country, rich kids from powerful families. They paid $50,000 a year to study here. John stood at the door, holding his wet package. He forgot about everything else. The music filled his ears and his heart. For a moment, he was not a delivery man. For a moment, he was somewhere else. Somewhere from long ago. Then the music stopped. Professor Elena looked up from the piano. Her green eyes found John standing at the door. Her face changed. She looked annoyed. "Can we help you?" she asked. Her voice was cold like ice. John felt his face get hot. Everyone in the room was looking at him now. 20 pairs of eyes. 20 rich students, staring at the wet delivery man. "I am sorry," John said quickly. "I have a delivery. For you, Professor. The music was very beautiful. I could not help but listen. 17. Some students started to laugh quietly. John heard one girl whisper to her friend, "Look at him. He is dripping water everywhere." A young man in the front row laughed out loud. His name was Jonathan Reed. He was 22 years old and very handsome. His father was a billionaire. Jonathan was the star student of the academy. Everyone said he would become world famous one day. The delivery boy appreciates fine music, Jonathan said loudly. How sweet. How charming. More students laughed. John wanted to disappear. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. But he just stood there, holding his wet package, his face burning with shame. Professor Elena raised one eyebrow. She looked at John with a strange smile. Tell me, delivery man, do you play? The room became quiet. Everyone waited for his answer. John's heart started beating fast. Did he play? Once upon a time, he played. Once upon a time, music was his whole life. But that was a long time ago. A lifetime ago. I used to, John said quietly. A little bit. The room exploded with laughter. Jonathan was laughing so hard that tears came to his eyes. He used to play a little bit, Jonathan repeated. Maybe Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Mary had a little lamb. Even Professor Elena was smiling now. But it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who thinks they are better than you. Is that so? Elena said. She stood up from the piano bench. She walked to the edge of the stage and looked down at John. Well, delivery man, this is your lucky day. Here is the best piano in the world. Would you like to play for us? John did not move. He did not speak. He knew what she was doing. She was making fun of him. She wanted to embarrass him in front of everyone. Come on, Elena continued. Her voice was sweet but cruel. Show us what you can do. Show us what you learned. A little bit. Jonathan stood up from his seat. Yes, please. Play for us. I want to see this. The other students joined in. Play, 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 they chanted, laughing. John felt something break inside him, something that had been holding together for 10 years. He looked at the piano on the stage. He looked at Elena's mocking smile. He looked at all those rich students laughing at him. He should just leave. He should put down the package and walk away. That was the smart thing to do. That was what a delivery man should do. But something in Elena's eyes made him angry. Something about her smile made his blood hot. She did not know him. She did not know anything about him. She just saw his uniform. She just saw his wet hair and his old shoes. She thought she knew everything about him just by looking at him. John took one step toward the stage. Elena's smile grew bigger. Oh, this is going to be good, she said to her students. Then she did something that John would never forget. She put her hand over her heart and spoke in a dramatic voice. Tell you what, delivery man, if you can actually play this piano, I mean really play it, I will marry you. The room went crazy with laughter. Students were falling out of their seats. Jonathan was hitting his desk with his hand, laughing so hard he could not breathe. Even the serious students in the back were smiling. I will marry you, Elena repeated, enjoying the attention. A delivery man and a professor. Can you imagine? What a love story that would be. John stood frozen. The laughter filled the room like poison. It went into his ears and into his heart. He had felt pain before. He had felt loss and sadness and loneliness. But this was different. This was pure humiliation. This was a room full of people telling him he was nothing. He was nobody. He was just a joke to them. John looked at Elena one last time. He saw her laughing with her students. He saw her beautiful face twisted with amusement. She was so sure of herself, so sure that he was just a stupid delivery man who could not play a single note. She had no idea who he was. John walked slowly to the front of the room. He placed the package on a table near the stage. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something else, something that had been sleeping inside him for 10 years. Thank you for the offer, John said quietly. His voice was strange. It did not sound like his normal voice. But I do not think you could afford me. The laughter stopped for a moment. Everyone looked confused. What did the delivery man just say? Then Jonathan started laughing again. Oh my God, he thinks he is funny. The delivery boy has jokes. The laughter came back, louder than before. John turned around and walked toward the door. Behind him, he could hear Elena's voice. Well, the offer stands. Delivery man. Anytime you want to play, I will be waiting, and I always keep my promises. More laughter followed him out of the room. John walked through the hallway. His wet shoes made sounds on the marble floor. He walked past the paintings and the photographs. He walked past the students, who did not see him. He walked out of the main entrance, into the rain. He stood there for a moment. The rain fell on his face. It mixed with something else. Something warm. Something that came from his eyes. John had not cried in 10 years. Not since the day his father died. But now, standing in the rain outside Hartwell Music Academy, he felt tears rolling down his cheeks. He was not crying because of the humiliation. He was not crying because rich people laughed at him. He was crying because of what he had lost. He was crying because of who he used to be. John got into his truck. He sat there for a long time, watching the rain fall on his windshield. His hands were still shaking. Nobody at that academy knew the truth. Nobody knew that 10 years ago, John was not a delivery man. 10 years ago, John was on his way to becoming one of the greatest pianists in the world. 10 years ago, music was everything to him. But that was before. Before the tragedy. Before he lost everything. Before he became invisible. John started his truck and drove away from the academy. But Elena's words kept playing in his head. If you can actually play this piano, I will marry you. She had no idea what she had just done. She had no idea what she had woken up inside him. For 10 years, John had kept the music locked away. For 10 years, he had pretended that part of him was dead, but it was not dead. It was only sleeping, and now, it was starting to wake up. John drove his truck through the wet streets of the city. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. His mind was not on the road. His mind was somewhere else. Somewhere in the past. He finished his deliveries that day like a robot. He did not smile at anyone. He did not talk to anyone. When his work was done, he drove home to his small apartment on the east side of the city. The apartment was tiny, just one room with a small kitchen and a bathroom. The walls were thin. He could hear his neighbors talking, watching television, living their lives. The furniture was old, a bed, a table, 2 chairs, a small couch. Nothing special, nothing beautiful. John sat down on his bed. He looked at the wall across from him. There was only one decoration in his whole apartment. One picture in a simple wooden frame. It showed a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She was sitting at a piano, and on her lap was a small boy. The boy was maybe 4 years old. He was laughing. The woman was his mother. The boy was him. John stared at the picture for a long time. Then, he did something he had not done in years. He closed his eyes and let himself remember. His mother's name was Sarah. She was a piano teacher, not a famous one, not a rich one. Just a woman who loved music and wanted to share that love with others. She taught piano lessons from their small house. Students would come after school, and John would sit in the corner and listen. He started playing when he was 3 years old. His mother did not teach him. He just watched her and copied what she did. One day, she heard him playing a song perfectly. A song he had only heard once. She knew then that her son was special. By the time John was 6, he could play pieces that most adults could not play. His fingers were small, but they moved with amazing speed and control. More importantly, when he played, people felt something. They felt emotions they could not explain. They felt touched by something bigger than themselves. A famous music professor visited their small town when John was 7. He heard John play and he could not believe his ears. He said he had never heard such talent in a child so young. He said John was a genius. He said John could be one of the greatest pianists in history. Things moved fast after that. John got a scholarship to a special music school, then another scholarship to an even better school. He performed in concerts. He won competitions. Newspapers wrote about him. They called him a child prodigy. They called him a miracle. His mother was always with him. She traveled to every concert. She sat in the front row at every competition. She never cared about the fame or the money. She just wanted her son to be happy. She just wanted him to have the chance to share his gift with the world. Then, when John was 12 years old, his mother got sick. It started with a cough that would not go away. Then came the tiredness, the weight loss, the pain. The doctors did many tests. They found cancer. It was already very bad. They said she had maybe 6 months to live. John stopped playing. He stopped going to school. He stopped everything. He just wanted to be with his mother. He wanted to hold her hand. He wanted to hear her voice. He wanted to remember everything about her before she was gone. His mother fought hard. She lived for 8 months, not 6. But in the end, the cancer won. She died on a cold morning in November. John was holding her hand when she took her last breath. Before she died, she made him promise something. She made him promise to keep playing. She said music was his gift, and he had to share it with the world. She said when he played, she would be listening. She would always be listening. John kept his promise. After his mother died, he went to live with his father. His father's name was Robert. He was a good man, but he did not know much about music. He worked in a factory. He worked hard every day to give John a good life. John went back to his music. He practiced harder than ever. He told himself he was doing it for his mother. He was keeping his promise. When he played, he imagined her sitting in the front row, smiling at him. When John was 15, something amazing happened. He got accepted to the Royal Conservatory in Vienna. It was one of the best music schools in the world. Only the most talented students could go there. John was the youngest student ever accepted. His father was so proud. He used all his savings to buy John a plane ticket to Vienna. He hugged his son at the airport and told him to follow his dreams. He told him his mother was watching, from heaven. Smiling, John spent 1 year in Vienna. It was the happiest year of his life. He learned from the best teachers. He played on the most beautiful pianos. He met other young musicians who loved music as much as he did. Everyone said he would be famous. Everyone said he would change the world of classical music. Then his father called with terrible news. Robert had been feeling tired for months. He thought it was just stress from work. But he finally went to see a doctor. The doctor found cancer. The same kind of cancer that killed John's mother. It was already spreading through his body. John did not think twice. He left Vienna the next day. He went home to be with his father. His teachers begged him to stay. They said he was throwing away his future. They said his father would understand. But John did not listen. His father was all he had left. He was not going to let him die alone. The next 3 years were very hard. John took care of his father every day. He helped him eat, helped him walk, helped him take his medicine. When his father was too weak to work, John got a job, then 2 jobs, then 3 jobs. The hospital bills were enormous. The medicine cost more than John could earn. He sold everything he owned. He sold his books, his clothes, his watch that his mother gave him. Finally, he sold the one thing he said he would never sell. He sold his piano. The piano his mother used to teach him on. The piano where he played his first notes. He sold it to pay for 1 more month of treatment. 1 more month of hope. But hope was not enough. The treatment did not work. The cancer kept growing. After 3 years of fighting, John's father died. He died in the same hospital where John's mother died. He died holding John's hand, just like she did. John was 19 years old. He had no parents. He had no money. He had no piano. He had nothing. The music schools tried to contact him. They said he could come back. They said they would give him another scholarship. But John did not answer their calls. He did not answer their letters. The music inside him had died with his parents. He could not play anymore. Every time he thought about playing, he thought about his mother and father. He thought about everything he lost. So John disappeared. He moved to a new city, where nobody knew him. He got a job as a delivery driver. It was simple work. It did not require thinking. It did not require feeling. He just picked up packages and delivered them. Day after day. Year after year. For 10 years, John lived this way. He woke up, went to work, came home, went to sleep. He did not make friends. He did not fall in love. He did not play music. He just existed. He was a ghost walking through life, waiting for it to end. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, after what happened at the academy, John could not sleep. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. Elena's words kept repeating in his head. If you can actually play this piano, I will marry you. The laughter of the students kept ringing in his ears. They thought he was nothing. They thought he was just a stupid delivery man who could not tell the difference between a piano and a table. John got up from his bed. He walked to the corner of his small room. There was an old cardboard box there. He had not opened that box in 10 years. He had moved it from apartment to apartment, but he never looked inside. Tonight, he opened it. Inside the box were old photographs. Pictures of him as a child, sitting at the piano. Pictures of him at competitions, holding trophies. Pictures of him with his mother, with his father, smiling and happy. There was also an old newspaper. The headline said, "Young genius set to become next great pianist." There was a picture of him at 16, sitting at a grand piano in Vienna. John looked at that picture for a long time. He looked at the young man with bright eyes and a confident smile. That young man had dreams. That young man had hope. That young man believed he could do anything. Where did that young man go? John put down the newspaper. He walked to the middle of his room. There was nothing there, just empty space. But John sat down on the floor. He closed his eyes. He put his hands in front of him, like he was sitting at a piano. And then, slowly, he began to move his fingers. There was no sound. There was no piano. But in his mind, John could hear the music. It was a song his mother taught him when he was 5 years old. A simple song, but beautiful. A song about love that never dies. His fingers moved faster. The music in his head grew louder. He could feel something happening inside him. Something that had been frozen for 10 years was starting to melt. Something that had been dead was starting to come back to life. John played the invisible piano for hours. Song after song, piece after piece. All the music he had locked away came flooding back. It was like water breaking through a dam. It was like a flower blooming after a long winter. When he finally stopped, the sun was coming up. Light came through his small window. John looked at his hands. They were shaking. But it was not a bad shaking. It was the shaking of something waking up. He thought about his mother. He thought about the promise he made to her. He had broken that promise for 10 years. He had let the music die. He had let himself become invisible. But maybe it was not too late. Maybe the music was not really dead. Maybe it was just sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake up. John looked at the picture of his mother on the wall. He could almost see her smiling at him. "I am sorry, Mom," he whispered. "I am sorry I stopped playing. But I am going to keep my promise now. I am going to play again." He did not know how. He did not know where. He did not have a piano. He did not have anything. But for the first time in 10 years, he had something more important. He had hope. 3 weeks passed after that terrible day at the academy. John continued his work as a delivery driver. He picked up packages in the morning and delivered them until evening. Nothing changed in his routine, but something had changed inside him. Every night, when he came home, John practiced on his invisible piano. He sat in the middle of his small room and moved his fingers through the air. He played all the songs he remembered. He played Chopin and Beethoven and Mozart. He played the songs his mother taught him. His fingers remembered everything. It was like they had their own memory, separate from his brain. But playing an invisible piano was not enough. John needed to touch real keys. He needed to hear real sounds. He needed to feel the music, not just imagine it. One day, John saw a sign in a music store window. The sign said, "Piano practice rooms for rent. $5 per hour." John went inside. The piano was old and not very good. Some keys did not work properly. But it was a real piano. John paid his $5 and sat down to play. The moment his fingers touched the keys, something magical happened. The music came out of him like a river. It was not perfect. His fingers were slow and clumsy after 10 years without practice. But the feeling was there. The emotion was there. The love was there. John started going to that music store every day after work. He spent all his extra money on practice time. $5, $10, sometimes $15 a day. He ate less food so he could buy more time with the piano. It was worth it. Every day, his fingers got faster. Every day, his playing got better. Meanwhile, something interesting was happening at Hartwell Music Academy. The academy was preparing for its biggest event of the year, the 50th anniversary gala. It was going to be a huge celebration. Rich donors would come. Famous musicians would come. Important people from all over the world would come. The academy wanted to show off its best students. The star of the show was supposed to be Jonathan Reed. He was the most talented student at the academy. He was going to play Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3. It was one of the most difficult pieces of music ever written. Only the best pianists in the world could play it properly. Jonathan had been practicing for months. He was confident and proud. He told everyone that his performance would be the best in the history of the academy. He told everyone that after this concert, he would become world famous. But 5 days before the gala, disaster happened. Jonathan went skiing with his rich friends at an expensive resort. He was showing off, trying to do a dangerous trick. He fell badly. He broke his right hand in 3 places. The doctors said he would not be able to play piano for at least 6 months. His career was not over, but the gala performance was impossible. The academy went into panic. The gala was in 5 days. They needed someone to replace Jonathan. But who could learn Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 in 5 days? It usually took months of practice. Even the best students could not do it. Professor Elena Vasquez was under the most pressure. She was in charge of the piano performances. She was supposed to find a replacement. But everyone she asked said no. The piece was too hard. The time was too short. It was impossible. Elena was stressed and angry. She stayed at the academy late every night, trying to find a solution. But there was no solution. The gala was going to be a disaster. Her reputation was going to be ruined. John did not know about any of this. He continued his deliveries as usual. But one evening, something happened that changed everything. It was late, almost 9 o'clock at night. John had one last delivery to make. It was a box of new music books for the academy. He drove his truck to the parking lot and carried the heavy box inside. The academy was almost empty. Most students and teachers had gone home. The lights in the hallways were dim. John's footsteps echoed on the marble floor. He delivered the box to the main office. But as he was leaving, he heard something. Silence. Complete silence. The concert hall was dark. The door was open. John looked inside. The huge room was empty. No students, no teachers, no audience. Just rows and rows of empty red seats. And on the stage, under a single light that someone forgot to turn off, was the Steinway piano. John stood at the door. His heart was beating fast. He knew he should leave. He knew he should just walk away and go home. But the piano was calling him. It was like a voice in his head, telling him to come closer. He looked around. There was nobody there. The hallway was empty. The academy was quiet. Before he knew what he was doing, John was walking toward the stage. His feet moved on their own. He climbed the steps to the stage. He walked across the shiny wooden floor. He stood in front of the Steinway piano. It was beautiful. The black surface was like a mirror. The keys were white and perfect. This was one of the best pianos in the world. And John was going to play it. He sat down on the bench. His hands were shaking. He looked at the keys. He had not played a piano this good since Vienna. Since he was 16 years old. John closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. He put his fingers on the keys, and then he played. He started with something simple. A nocturne by Chopin. His fingers were nervous at first. They made a few mistakes. But slowly, they remembered what to do. The music started to flow. The beautiful sound filled the empty concert hall. John forgot where he was. He forgot about his delivery truck. He forgot about his small apartment. He forgot about everything. There was only the music. There was only the piano. There was only this moment. He played the Chopin piece perfectly. Then he moved on to something harder. A sonata by Beethoven. His fingers flew across the keys. The music was powerful and emotional. It filled every corner of the huge room. Then John did something he had not done in years. He played a piece he had written himself. He composed it when he was 14 years old. It was called Invisible. He wrote it for his mother, after she died. It was about feeling alone. It was about feeling lost. It was about hoping that somewhere, someone was watching over you. The music was heartbreaking. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. If anyone was listening, they would have cried. Someone was listening. Professor Elena Vasquez had come back to the academy to get her scarf. She left it in her office earlier. She was walking through the dark hallway when she heard the music. At first, she thought she was dreaming. The music was too beautiful. It could not be real. But it was coming from the concert hall. Elena walked quietly toward the sound. She opened the door slowly and looked inside. She saw a man sitting at the Steinway. He was wearing a delivery uniform. His back was to her. She could not see his face, but she could hear him play. And what she heard made her freeze. This was not ordinary playing. This was not even excellent playing. This was something special. This was the kind of playing that comes once in a generation. Every note was perfect. Every phrase was full of emotion. The music was alive. It was breathing. It was speaking directly to her heart. Elena stood in the shadows, not moving, barely breathing. She listened to the whole piece. When it ended, she realized there were tears on her face. She had not cried listening to music since she was a little girl. The man at the piano sat still for a moment. Then he started to play another piece. Elena recognized it immediately. It was the beginning of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto. Number 3. The impossible piece. The piece that nobody at her academy could learn in time. The delivery man played it perfectly. Elena's mind was racing. Who was this man? Where did he learn to play like this? How was this possible? She had made fun of him 3 weeks ago. She had laughed at him in front of her students. She had said she would marry him if he could play. Now she was not laughing. Elena stepped out of the shadows. Her foot made a sound on the floor. The man at the piano stopped playing. He turned around. It was John. The delivery man. His face was pale. His eyes were wide with fear. He looked like a child caught doing something wrong. "I am sorry," John said quickly. He stood up from the piano. "I should not be here. I will leave right now. Please do not call the police." "Wait." Elena's voice was shaking. "Do not go." John stopped moving. He looked at her with confusion. Elena walked slowly toward the stage. Her legs felt weak. Her heart was pounding. She climbed the steps and stood in front of John. "That piece you just played," she said. "The one before Rachmaninoff. What was it called?" John looked down at the floor. "It is called Invisible. I wrote it a long time ago." Elena felt like the ground was moving under her feet. "You wrote it?" "Yes. When I was 14, Elena stared at him. Her brain was trying to understand what was happening. "I have heard that piece before. Only once. It was a recording from 15 years ago. A young pianist named John Chen played it at a competition in Vienna. The critics said it was the most beautiful original composition they had ever heard from someone so young." John did not say anything. He just stood there, looking at the floor. Elena stepped closer to him. John Chen disappeared after that. He was supposed to become one of the greatest pianists in the world. But he just vanished. Nobody knew what happened to him. She reached out and lifted John's chin. She made him look at her. "You are John Chen," she whispered. "You are the prodigy." John's eyes were full of pain. 10 years of pain. 10 years of hiding. 10 years of being invisible. "I used to be," he said softly. "A long time ago." Elena looked at him for a long moment. This man standing in front of her was not just a delivery man. He was a genius who had been lost. A star that had fallen from the sky. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Where did you go?" And so John told her everything. He told her about his mother dying when he was 12. He told her about leaving Vienna to take care of his father. He told her about the cancer, the hospital bills, the sold piano. He told her about his father dying. He told her about the 10 years of silence. When he finished, Elena was crying. Real tears. Not like before, when she laughed at him. Now she understood. Now she knew the truth. "I am so sorry," she said. "For what I said to you 3 weeks ago. For laughing at you. For treating you like you were nothing. I did not know." "How could you know?" John said. "I am just a delivery man now. That is all I am." "No." Elena shook her head. "That is not all you are. I just heard you play. You still have it. The gift. It is still there." John looked at the piano. "Maybe. But what does it matter? I have no training anymore. I have no connections. I have nothing." Elena grabbed his hands. She looked into his eyes. "You have this," she said. "You have the gala in 5 days. Our star performer broke his hand. We need someone to play Rachmaninoff's Concerto No. 3. And I just heard you play it perfectly." John pulled his hands back. "No. I cannot do that. I have not performed in front of people for 10 years. I will fail. I will embarrass myself." "You will not fail," Elena said firmly. "I will help you. I will practice with you every day. We can do this together." John shook his head. "Why? Why would you help me? You do not even know me." Elena smiled through her tears. "Because I made a promise. I said if you could play this piano, I would marry you. I am not ready to marry you yet. But I am ready to give you a chance to show the world who you really are." John looked at her. He looked at the piano. He looked at his hands. The same hands that used to make beautiful music. The same hands that had been silent for so long. "I am scared," he admitted. "Good," Elena said. "That means you care. Now come on. We have 5 days. We have a lot of work to do." And so John's life changed again. For the second time, the music was calling him back. The question was, would he answer? The next 5 days were the most intense of John's life. Every morning, he woke up at 5 o'clock. He went to work and did his deliveries as fast as possible. Then, every evening, he went to the academy to practice with Elena. They practiced in a small room in the back of the piano wing. Elena did not want anyone to know about John yet. She wanted it to be a surprise. She wanted the world to discover him at the gala, when he walked onto that stage and showed everyone what he could do. The first day of practice was difficult. John's fingers knew the music, but his mind was fighting against him. Every time he tried to play, he thought about all the things that could go wrong. He thought about the audience laughing at him. He thought about making mistakes. He thought about failing in front of hundreds of people. "Stop thinking," Elena told him. "You are in your head too much. Just feel the music. Let it flow through you." "I cannot," John said. His hands were shaking. "Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces, your students, the way they laughed at me. I hear their voices in my head." Elena sat down next to him on the piano bench. She was close enough that he could smell her perfume. It was soft and sweet, like flowers in spring. "Listen to me," she said gently. Those students are children. They do not know anything about real life. They do not know about sacrifice. They do not know about loss. They laughed at you because they were ignorant. Their opinion means nothing. But what about the people at the gala? John asked. They are not children. They are music experts, critics, people who have heard the best pianists in the world. What if they think I am a joke too? Elena took his hands in hers. Her fingers were warm and soft. John, I have taught piano for 15 years. I have heard thousands of students play. Some of them were good. Some of them were excellent. But I have never heard anyone play like you. What you have is not something that can be learned. It is a gift. And gifts like this do not disappear. They do not fade away. They wait for the right moment to shine again. John looked into her eyes. They were green and beautiful. But more than that, they were kind. This was not the same woman who mocked him 3 weeks ago. This was someone different. Someone who saw him for who he really was. Why are you being so nice to me? John asked. After what you did before? Elena looked down. Her face showed shame. Because I was wrong. I judged you by your clothes and your job. I thought I was better than you because I have a title and a position, but I was the fool, not you. I want to make it right. I want to help you get back everything you lost. They practiced for 4 more hours that night. John played the same sections over and over again. Elena gave him advice, helped him with difficult parts, encouraged him when he made mistakes. By the end of the night, John was exhausted, but he felt something he had not felt in years. He felt like he belonged somewhere. The second day was better. John's fingers were more confident. The music came more easily. But there was still fear in his heart. The fear of performing. The fear of being seen. For 10 years, he had been invisible. The thought of standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people terrified him. Tell me about your mother, Elena said during a break. John was surprised by the question. Why do you want to know about her? Because I want to understand you. I want to know why you play the way you do. John was quiet for a moment. Then he started talking. He told Elena about his mother's piano lessons. He told her about sitting on her lap and watching her fingers move across the keys. He told her about the first time he played a real song, and how his mother cried with happiness. He told her about her sickness, her fight, her death. He told her about the promise he made. When he finished, Elena's eyes were wet with tears. She sounds like an amazing woman, Elena said. She was, John replied. She was the best person I ever knew. When she died, I felt like a part of me died too. The part that loved music. The part that believed in dreams. But you kept playing. For a while. At least, yes. Because I promised her. But then my father got sick too. And I had to choose. Music or family. Dreams or reality. John's voice became hard. I chose family, and I lost everything. Elena put her hand on his shoulder. You did not lose everything. You still have the music. It is still inside you. I heard it last night. Your mother's love is in every note you play. Your father's strength is in every chord. They are not gone. John, they live through your music. John felt tears forming in his eyes. He had not cried in front of anyone since his father died. But Elena's words broke something inside him. Something that needed to be broken. I am afraid, he whispered. I am afraid that if I go back to music, I will lose it again. I am afraid that something bad will happen. Every time I love something, it gets taken away from me. Elena moved closer to him. That is life, John. We love things, and sometimes we lose them. But that does not mean we should stop loving. Your parents would not want you to hide from the world. They would want you to share your gift. They would want you to live. On the third day, something changed in John. He stopped fighting himself. He stopped being afraid. He sat at the piano and let go of everything. All the pain, all the fear, all the doubt. He let it all flow out through the music. Elena sat in a chair across the room, listening. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Her face said everything. She was amazed. She was moved. She was watching something magical happen. When John finished playing the full concerto, there was silence in the room. Then Elena stood up and started clapping. Not polite clapping. Real clapping. The kind you do when you witness something extraordinary. That was perfect, she said. Absolutely perfect. John looked at his hands. They were not shaking anymore. It felt different this time. It felt like I was not alone. Like someone was playing with me. Your parents, Elena said softly. They were with you. That night, they did not practice anymore. Instead, they talked. They sat on the floor of the practice room and shared stories. Elena told John about her own life. She told him about growing up poor, about working hard to become a professor, about the pressure she felt to be perfect all the time. I was mean to you because I was scared, she admitted. Scared of people finding out that I am not as confident as I pretend to be. When you showed up at my class, wet and humble, I saw someone I could feel superior to. It made me feel better about myself. That was wrong. That was ugly. We all do ugly things sometimes, John said. The important thing is what we do after. Elena smiled. Look at you. Being wise. The delivery man philosopher. They both laughed. It was easy laughter. The laughter of two people who were becoming friends. Maybe something more. The fourth day was about performance. Elena brought John to the main concert hall. The same hall where she had humiliated him. The same piano. The same stage. But now everything was different. You need to feel comfortable here, Elena said. This is where you will perform tomorrow night. I want you to own this space. I want you to make it yours. John walked around the stage. He looked at the empty seats. He imagined them filled with people. Hundreds of faces looking at him. Waiting for him to play. What if I freeze? He asked. What if I forget everything? You will not, Elena said firmly. Because you are not playing for them. You are playing for your mother. You are playing for your father. You are playing for the 14-year-old boy who wrote that beautiful piece called Invisible. Those are your audience. The only audience that matters. John sat down at the piano. He closed his eyes. He thought about his mother's smile. He thought about his father's strong hands. He thought about the promise he made. Then he played. The music filled the empty hall. It bounced off the walls and the ceiling. It was loud and powerful and full of emotion. John played like he was fighting for his life. Because in a way, he was. He was fighting to get back everything he lost. He was fighting to be seen again. When he finished, he opened his eyes. Elena was standing at the edge of the stage. Tears were running down her face. Tomorrow night, she said, you are going to change everything. You are going to remind the world what real music sounds like. You are going to make them believe in miracles again. When you are going to make them believe in miracles again. John stood up from the piano. He walked over to Elena. They stood close to each other. Close enough to touch. I do not know how to thank you, John said. You gave me my life back. Elena smiled. You can thank me by playing your heart out tomorrow. Show them who you are. Show them that the delivery man is a king. That night, John could not sleep. He lay in his small bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, he would step onto that stage and play in front of hundreds of people. Tomorrow, he would stop being invisible. He was still scared. But it was a different kind of fear now. It was not the fear of failure. It was the fear of success. What would happen if they loved him? What would happen if the world wanted him back? Was he ready for that? John looked at the picture of his mother on the wall. She was smiling at him. She was always smiling. I am going to keep my promise, Mom, he whispered. Tomorrow, I am going to play. For you. For Dad. For everyone who ever believed in me. I am not going to be invisible anymore. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 10 years, John slept peacefully. He dreamed of music. He dreamed of light. He dreamed of a stage where he was the star. Tomorrow was going to be the biggest day of his life. And this time, he was ready. The night of the gala arrived. The sky was clear and full of stars. Expensive cars lined up outside Hartwell Music Academy. Men in black suits and women in beautiful dresses walked through the grand entrance. Photographers took pictures. Reporters asked questions. Everyone was talking about the 50th anniversary celebration. Inside the concert hall, 500 seats were filled with the most important people in the music world. Famous conductors, legendary pianists, wealthy donors who gave millions of dollars to the arts, critics from the biggest newspapers and magazines. Everyone who mattered was there. Jonathan Reed sat in the front row. His right hand was wrapped in a white cast. His face was angry and bitter. This was supposed to be his night. He was supposed to be the star, but now he had to watch someone else take his place. He did not know who the replacement was. Nobody knew. Elena had kept it a secret from everyone. Jonathan's father, the billionaire, sat next to him. "Do not worry, son," he said. "Whoever plays tonight will not be as good as you. Everyone will feel sorry for you. They will respect you even more." Jonathan nodded, but he was not comforted. He wanted to be on that stage. He wanted the applause. He wanted the fame. Backstage, John was waiting in a small room. He was wearing a simple black suit that Elena had bought for him. It was not expensive, but it fit him well. He looked at himself in the mirror. He barely recognized himself. He did not look like a delivery man anymore. He looked like a pianist. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast. In a few minutes, he would walk onto that stage. He would sit at the piano in front of 500 strangers. He would play the most difficult piece of music ever written. What if he failed? What if he made mistakes? What if everyone laughed at him again? There was a knock at the door. Elena came in. She was wearing a red dress, the same color she wore the first time he saw her. But her face was different now. It was warm and kind. There was no mockery in her eyes, only hope. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Terrified," John admitted. Elena smiled. "Good. That means you are alive." She walked over to him and adjusted his tie. "Remember what I told you. You are not playing for them. You are playing for your parents. You are playing for yourself. No one else matters. What if I am not good enough? You are good enough. You are more than good enough. You are extraordinary." Elena put her hand on his cheek. "I believe in you, John, more than I have ever believed in anyone." They looked at each other for a long moment. Something passed between them. Something unspoken but powerful. "Thank you," John said softly, "for everything." "Do not thank me yet," Elena replied with a small smile. "Thank me after you make them cry." The lights in the concert hall dimmed. The audience became quiet. A voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 50th anniversary gala of Hartwell Music Academy. Tonight, we have a special surprise for you. Our scheduled performer could not be here due to an injury, but we have found someone truly exceptional to take his place. Please welcome our mystery pianist." The spotlight focused on the stage entrance. The audience waited with curiosity. Who was this mystery pianist? Someone famous? Someone they knew? John walked out onto the stage. For a moment, nobody recognized him. He was just a man in a black suit. But then someone in the audience gasped. It was one of Elena's students. She recognized the delivery man who had been humiliated in class 3 weeks ago. Whispers spread through the audience like fire. "Is that the delivery man? What is he doing here? Is this a joke?" Jonathan laughed out loud. "This is unbelievable. They are letting the delivery boy perform? This is going to be embarrassing." Some people in the audience started to laugh too. They thought it was some kind of prank, a publicity stunt. They expected John to trip, to fail, to embarrass himself. John heard the laughter. He saw the smirks on their faces. For a second, he wanted to run. He wanted to disappear. But then he remembered Elena's words. He remembered his mother's smile. He remembered his father's strength. He walked to the piano with his head held high. He sat down on the bench. He placed his hands on the keys. The laughter slowly stopped. People were confused. The delivery man looked so calm, so confident. Something was strange. John closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. He thought about his mother sitting in the front row. He thought about his father standing by the door, smiling proudly. "This is for you," he whispered, and then he began to play. The first notes of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 filled the concert hall. They were perfect, clear and powerful, and full of emotion. The audience went silent, completely silent. John's fingers flew across the keys. The music was beautiful beyond words. It was not just technically perfect. It was alive. Every note told a story. Every phrase made you feel something deep in your heart. People's faces changed. The smirks disappeared. The laughter died. Instead, there was shock, amazement, disbelief. Jonathan's mouth fell open. His father gripped the armrest of his seat. This was impossible. The delivery man was playing better than anyone he had ever heard. Better than Jonathan. Better than anyone. John did not see them. He did not hear them. He was lost in the music. He was back in his mother's living room, sitting on her lap. He was in Vienna, playing for his teachers. He was in the hospital, holding his father's hand. All the moments of his life came together in this one performance. The concerto lasted 40 minutes. 40 minutes of the most beautiful music anyone in that room had ever heard. When John played the final notes, there was a moment of complete silence. Then, the audience exploded. Everyone stood up at once. They clapped and cheered and shouted. The sound was like thunder. People were crying, real tears running down their faces. Even the toughest critics, the people who never showed emotion, were wiping their eyes. John sat at the piano, stunned. He could not believe what was happening. 500 people were standing for him. 500 people were cheering for him. After 10 years of being invisible, he was finally seen. But he was not finished. John raised his hand. The audience slowly became quiet again. They sat back down, confused. Was there more? John turned to look at Elena. She was standing at the side of the stage, tears streaming down her face. He nodded at her. "I would like to play one more piece," John said. His voice was calm and clear. "I wrote this song when I was 14 years old, after my mother died. It is called Invisible. I want to dedicate it to everyone who has ever felt unseen, everyone who has ever been laughed at or looked down upon, everyone who has ever been told they were not good enough. This song is for you." He turned back to the piano. He closed his eyes, and he played. The song was nothing like Rachmaninoff. It was simple. It was gentle. It was heartbreaking. The melody was so beautiful that it hurt to listen to. It spoke of loss and loneliness. It spoke of hope and love. It spoke of being invisible and wanting to be seen. Every person in the audience felt like the song was written for them. Every person had a moment in their life when they felt invisible, when they felt like nobody cared, when they felt alone in the world. John played, and the audience wept. Not silent tears this time. Real sobbing. People held on to each other. Strangers comforted strangers. The music had broken down all the walls between them. When the last note faded away, John sat with his hands in his lap. He thought about his mother and father. He hoped they were proud of him. He hoped they knew he had kept his promise. The audience stood again. The applause was even louder than before. People were shouting his name. "John! John! John!" But John was not looking at them. He was looking at Elena. She walked onto the stage. The audience quieted down, watching. Elena walked to the piano and stood next to John. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "My name is Professor Elena Vasquez. 3 weeks ago, I made a terrible mistake. This man came into my classroom as a delivery driver. I mocked him. I laughed at him. I told him that if he could play this piano, I would marry him." The audience gasped. People whispered to each other. Elena continued. "I said it as a joke, a cruel joke. I thought he was nobody. I thought he was nothing. But I was wrong. This man is John Chen. 15 years ago, he was called the greatest young pianist in the world. He gave up everything to take care of his dying parents. He sacrificed his dreams, his career, his future. For 10 years, he delivered packages in silence, invisible to the world. But tonight, you all saw the truth. Tonight, you all saw a genius." She turned to John. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. "I said I would marry you if you could play this piano. I am a woman of my word." She got down on one knee in front of him. The audience gasped again. "I am not asking you to marry me tonight. That would be crazy. But I am asking you to give me a chance. A chance to know you. A chance to make up for my cruelty. A chance to love you." John looked at her. This beautiful, proud woman was kneeling in front of him, asking for his forgiveness, asking for his love. He remembered all the times people had laughed at him. He remembered all the times people had looked through him like he was not there. But he also remembered his mother's words. She always told him that anger and bitterness were poison. She told him that forgiveness was the only way to be free. John reached out and took Elena's hand. He helped her stand up. "I forgive you," he said simply. "And yes, I will give you a chance." The audience went crazy. They cheered and clapped, and some even threw flowers onto the stage. It was like a scene from a movie. A beautiful ending to a beautiful story. But for John, it was not an ending. It was a beginning. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Music critics wrote about John's incredible performance. Newspapers told his story. Television shows wanted to interview him. Recording companies offered him contracts. Concert halls invited him to perform. John accepted some offers and rejected others. He did not want to become a machine. He wanted to play music on his own terms. He wanted to share his gift. But he also wanted to have a life. He quit his job as a delivery driver. He started teaching music to children who could not afford lessons. He remembered how his mother used to teach for free sometimes, to kids whose families had no money. He wanted to continue her work. Elena and John grew closer every day. They practiced together. They laughed together. They shared their dreams and fears. After 6 months, they moved in together. After 1 year, they got married. The wedding was at Hartwell Music Academy, in the same concert hall where John had played his greatest performance. The same piano where Elena had mocked him was now decorated with white flowers. The same seats that held critics and donors now held friends and family. Jonathan came to the wedding. He had changed after that night. Watching John play had humbled him. He realized that he had been cruel and arrogant. He apologized to John, and they became friends. Jonathan even donated money to John's music school for poor children. At the wedding reception, John played one final song. It was a new piece. One he had written for Elena. It was called Seen. It was about being invisible for so long, and then finally being found. It was about a delivery man and a professor. It was about second chances and true love. When the song ended, Elena kissed him. The guests cheered. "I love you," Elena whispered. "I love you too," John replied. "Thank you for seeing me." They danced together as the stars shone outside the windows. Two people who had found each other against all odds. A delivery man who became a legend. A professor who learned to be humble. A love story written in music. And somewhere, looking down from heaven, two proud parents smiled. Their son had kept his promise. He had shared his gift with the world. He was no longer invisible. He was finally seen.